Simpson, Dr. Amy, and Eric here. OPT2LIV mornings, and we've got Max playing with Amy. Now, come on.
Oh,
there is. Where's the video etiquette there, Max? No. Hey.
Oh, he's sneezing.
That's called live, Eric.
That's enough. It is live. Well, he just came in from outside, and this is what he does with Amy every morning.
I know we haven't had our playtime.
Max, honey, we are on the video. Stop it. Oh my God.
I'll give him
Anyway,
treats, so
you get him some treats. We do have some good topics today, Doug.
Yeah.
We are looking at the sleep pillar, of course. It's Thursday, right? And Energy Week and how good sleep boosts energy. We got Amy physically with us today, so she's got some really good notes that she's wanting to fly through today with supplements and all kinds of good stuff. So what is it? What's happening with sleep, Amy? As an instrument to our healing, what's it doing when we sleep?
You know, we talked before in podcasts and I think even these Facebook Lives about how sleep is so important for restoration. Like we restore tissues, we regrow tissues, proteins are synthesized, tissues are repaired, growth hormones released. There are all kinds of things. And it's interesting, we're talking about energy this week because the ATP we were talking about earlier this week.
Which is energy.
ATP, yep, energy. And everybody got their little science lesson earlier this week on ATP. When you sleep, ATP, part of what they think happens with how sleep restores our energy as well is it boosts ATP, especially in these areas in our brain that are really important and active while we're awake and alert. And so, I think it's amazing that all of this goes on when we're sleeping, thinking that nothing's going on.
I thought that was interesting because the brain has to slow down for it to begin to heal, and if it's active, then for some reason it's not as efficient probably at healing and reboosting the energy in that part of the brain. I thought that was interesting.
Well, and
we are talking about Energy Week, so that's and we've hit different topics. Of course, we've hit every pillar, but Amy seems to be the one that knows the most about sleep. Well, she knows the most about everything in our pillars, but she's helped us along this. This is not only going to be about our sleeping, but some vitamin supplements. And we're going to open it up for you guys. So make sure that you throw your questions out there. We have some good questions I want to tackle a little bit later on. But throw your questions out. Let us know you're watching today. It's going to be fantastic. And
I'll tell you, Doug, if you start to look at how important sleep is in Amy's life, she's a PhD in it. I mean, she loves her sleep. There's one thing I can't mess with, is her sleep.
Which is what is so disappointing. Since I've had my shoulder surgery, I have had a little struggle with sleep. We talked about this morning, and it's interesting how your body gets...
Yeah, you're up a couple times.
Yeah, you get... sometimes it becomes this habit, but I get uncomfortable. I've got this... My shoulder's healing great, but I think I pinch a nerve or something. But anyway,
it's gotta be
I can sleep a couple hours, and then I wake up with this shooting pain. So sleep has been a struggle for me lately. And then I think that disrupts energy, obviously, during the day. So I did want to hit upon one thing that I think there's studies showing, and I've had to start doing a little bit of this, is taking a tiny little nap during the day. And we've been joking about it with my family and my sisters and mom about our siestas and how everybody's getting in this habit of these siestas since we've been quarantined. But I will tell you.
Made me think of Laura.
And a lot of countries, they do take siestas and they have time, they take a break, and it's not that they always sleep or nap, but they take a little break during the day. And but the studies show that if you take a nap, like maybe a 20-minute or less nap during the day, it's very good. It helps your energy. It's restorative without disrupting your sleep the next day. Now, if you sleep for an hour or two during the day, you are going to keep feeding into this problem. But I have noticed that if I just get a 10-15-minute little rest in, then I'm good to go, and that helps. So.
I think that's interesting because what they will do a lot of times in Mexico, because we got some buddies that live in Mexico as well, and from Mexico, is that they'll work in the morning and then they take a longer lunch, so it's 2 hours. And if in that 2 hours you want to take a little nap, eat with the family. I thought it was kind of cool. Now they do work, longer in the afternoon, but there's a break point. So you're hitting it hard, then you rest, and you hit it hard again. I think so many times what we try to do is just cram 8, 10, 12 hours of work in, and we're probably not as efficient.
Work through lunch.
We
talked about that.
Let's put a badge on and say we're going to work through lunch instead of.
Well, the thing is, you got to make hay while the sun's shining, so you try to get it all in as fast as you can.
Right.
Is that true? You got to make hay.
Make hay while the sun shines.
When the sun's
That's
out.
Definitely in
Doug, you've got some good.
That's in Indiana.
Well, I don't have the pearls that Dr. Amy has, but mine are pretty important.
That's a pretty
That is a good one. And then from Indiana, that's yeah. We got euchre. We got a few things. Hoosier.
Right.
Who's there? Yeah,
funny.
for sure.
Tasseling corn. I mean, we got that.
Oh, baling hay into tasseling corn. A couple hardest things I've done. And work at Brockway Glass.
That fatigue. And I think the other things so sleep, again, leading into helping us get good sleep to help our energy the next day. All those other pillars we talked about, the breathe, the eat, the move, those impact our sleep so much that we've talked about. And if we can pay attention to those, and I think that may be part of my sleep being off too. My schedule got all changed these past few days, and I worked long days and come home a little revved up and stressed and stuff on my mind or stuff that I need to finish or follow up. And so I think I just was trying to pay attention, and I think it's not always one thing, but there's a lot of things that disrupt our sleep. And so it's just being aware and trying to do all we can to get it back in sync, because the other things that how sleep and energy and all that comes into play. When we sleep, we actually allow our body, as I talked about, those proteins. So those proteins are sometimes used to make different neurotransmitters in our brain, dopamine, serotonin, to make our cortisol. So all these different hormones and chemicals get replenished when we sleep or stay in balance so that they're not too high, not too low. And so if you get proper sleep, then you can also keep those chemicals where they need to be, because if not, sometimes you don't sleep and you feel like you're just starving the whole next day. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
If you pulled an all-nighter or if you worked a shift that you were like, so it messes up some of those chemicals that are used for appetite and cortisol and things like that. So.
And I think it intrigues us, and this is why we're so excited to be able to share this fund of knowledge with you guys. Of course, we've been using the term mini scientist so that you can become a mini scientist. But, when you're younger, you can take a lot of things for granted. You can take for granted that the body's really toned and it doesn't have a lot of injury and those kinds of things. Now, I say as I get wiser, things have changed. Amy's making it very clear. You're just getting older. Anyway, but the point is that our physical bodies change, and so is the chemistry of our body changing. And I think that's what I've noticed in myself, is that I have to be so much more aware of all these little things that are happening in my body, and being able to objectively measure these changes. And then I know you're going to talk a little bit about supplements today. I know I've got just a few supplements, not a lot, that I take that my body right now isn't making, that are instrumental in me even having good conversations and all that stuff. So as we get wiser or age, things are going to change, and it's so important as we do to become those mini scientists for what do I have to do to stay optimal, to stay healthy, and all that stuff. And I know that's what you're going to be covering with us today.
There's a good list here too.
Oh my goodness. Well, good morning, everybody. We got a ton of people on.
And if you have any questions, remember Thursday's kind of just a wild card day. So we'll talk about anything. It doesn't even have to be with sleep or energy or any questions you have. We are happy to entertain them.
Yeah.
One thing, I get a lot of questions, and I think that our coaches do too, on what can I take, maybe supplement or vitamin-wise, to help energy. Because again, fatigue, a lot of people come in complaining of fatigue. If you have like chronic fatigue, I do think it's important to go see a physician, because there are medical things that it can be a sign of, such as thyroid issues or anemia or, you know, some other liver or kidney trouble. So it's important to not ignore it, to go and get checked out. If you've had a medical evaluation, everything's looking okay, because sometimes even heart disease or lung disease can present as fatigue, and we don't think of that.
It's nice to catch those things
and
early.
So, or autoimmune, you know, there are all kinds of things that we'll see that it will be a part of. But in addition, obviously, a lot of us struggle with fatigue sometime. I mean, I can't imagine one person that can't say they've had a spell.
Right.
And so there are supplements and vitamins that are helpful that we can go through if you guys want to, or.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. One of the questions is, I mean, how do you know it's a great supplement? Because they all claim to be the best.
Oh, that's a great question. It really
That is a great
Pharmaceutical
question.
grade, I know, is what you work with, Amy, which is regulated.
Yes.
Many of them aren't.
Boy, there are, this wellness industry and the vitamin and supplement industry has just boomed. And there are a lot of very, very good supplements out there. So I can't say that I can list one that is the ultimate best, honestly.
Right. You got a top 5 that you'd like to work
but
with?
I will say, in general, when you're getting a supplement, you can look for a few little things, and they're not FDA approved. So that is one thing.
That just means they're not regulated.
So they're not specifically regulated, but there is something called the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, and they have something that's GMP, Good Manufacturing Process, I think it stands for. And that label, that stamp is on a lot of supplements, and that shows that that's as close as we can get to regulation out there. So that is a very, very good way to look at it. What is it called? Consumer Lab. You can get on consumerlab.com. I think you do have to pay maybe $30 for a year to get access to it, but it's really, really good. It goes through and it'll list different supplements, and I've seen them review, because they are actually a company or a resource that goes in and reviews, and I think they're with that Good Manufacturing Process seal as well, but they review anything from Kirkland's, which is Costco, to Nature Made, to some of the ones that I'll mention, like Thorne and Pure Encapsulation. They use them a lot. Now Brand's good.
I'm thinking of the ones that are covered.
Integrative Therapeutics, Douglas Labs. So this week we've been giving away discounts, and there are a couple different online supplement stores that as a physician I can give access to for clients, and these carry just those brands that I'm mentioning.
Right.
I mean, it's got probably like 100 different companies or brands, but they are all companies that are very reputable. So that'll be a good resource too, that we try to guide people to, and just to help you get a good quality supplement, but not paying our arm and a leg, because some of them are really, really pricey, and you don't always have to spend the most, and that's how you know it's the best one. But it is important to know that, so vitamins and supplements and minerals, remember, they are to supplement our diet. We're talking about food during this eat pillar, how important food is, and we can get a lot of our vitamins and minerals through food, but it is tricky, and sometimes when we're fatigued, or maybe we're just genetically set up that we aren't going to be able to extract and get some or absorb some of those B vitamins.
She looked right at me when she said that, Doug. Genetically flawed.
So
thank you, Amy.
We all are.
We had another question. Would you say that through the supplement stuff there might be a psychological aspect to this? We had another question about that, about eating right and having the right supplements. Would that be a point?
Like helping?
Yeah, the question was, is there a psychological aspect of learning to eat better, knowing the right supplements to take? How would you attack that?
Well, back to...
It's a fund of knowledge. You got to build your fund of knowledge and become that mini scientist, and then you can apply your symptoms to the need.
And I think, psychologically, there are so many different chemicals involved in our day-to-day thinking and process and drive and
I think there's over 100
and
chemicals that
emotions.
have to be balanced in the brain just for us to have a conversation. It's a lot.
And so it is those supplements that we'll even go through some today. Those supplements can help us because here's an example, I guess this might help Doug, like dopamine. Dopamine is that pleasure chemical, and so if our dopamine's off, they've shown that it gets affected in different things like addictions, such as food, cravings, and so getting your dopamine balance can help with weight loss and help with smoking cessation. And so there are medicines that do that, but there are also supplements and vitamins that can help that. And so, yes, I think balancing all of that will help psychologically us stay on track, because we know it takes at least 3 months for something to become a habit. Studies show that 12 weeks, and so that's why I really try to push people to with our coaching
hang in there,
too.
yeah.
Like, it's not, you just have to be patient, and it's not going to be perfect overnight, or even in a month. You may realize a lot of us do great for a month or two, and then we get off track because it's hard, and our brain has old habits and cravings and balances, and so hopefully that answered that question. Might have been
Yeah,
long.
it did, and that was exactly what I had a question from another viewer, so I was trying to get that.
Yeah.
So hit a couple of these highlights, Amy, on these supplements, what they are and what they're doing.
Well, we'll just kind of go down the list here. And I will tell you, online there's some good articles on something called Healthline, and that's a good place to go to get some reliable medical information, in addition to, we use Mayo a lot of times, or Harvard and things like that. But ashwagandha is one that they talk about. It's a herb, an Indian herb that's used a lot in Ayurvedic medicine. And the nice thing is, these that we're going to talk about are safe. So, it's not, I'm trying to pick things that you're not going to get toxic or have a lot of issues, but it helps your body. They've done studies, and they show that it just helps with mental stress and tension, and thank you. And fatigue, helps with your body's like resilience and energy. Used a lot for stress, anxiety, and then to help cortisol, balance our cortisol levels and help with energy. So ashwagandha, something to maybe look at. A lot of times it will be in some of those that will be for like.
That's a good one, Doug, just to remember to tell your friends. That's a cool name. You might throw people off. Hey, have you heard about, ashwagandha?
Hey, Doug, you'll like this one too. It said in there that ashwagandha has been used to alleviate fatigue associated with exercise, and that they had it like people that were cycling were able to cycle longer versus placebo with ashwagandha because the energy boost that it gives you and endurance, I think. So there you go, ashwagandha one.
Yeah, that's great.
And very, lower side effects. Rhodiola is another one that people probably hear a lot about. Rhodiola and ashwagandha are often in supplements together. A lot of times when you see stuff for stress or for energy, you'll see them, and a lot of them will have ashwagandha and rhodiola. Rhodiola is also an herb, and kind of a natural, we call them adaptogens. They allow our body to adapt. So if we need to cope with stress. So sometimes under stress we feel fatigued. Sometimes under stress we feel revved up, right? And anxious and can't sleep. So it's so interesting. It takes rhodiola, it takes it in, and it helps balance our adrenals and balance our bodies, so that if you need energy, it will help that way. If you need a calming effect, it helps that way. So it's kind of interesting how these adaptogens can be used in two different manners almost. So, but mental fatigue, especially under stress. So there you go. I'll help you with some mental fatigue.
Yeah.
What else, you guys? This is a good one. CoQ10. CoQ10 is an antioxidant. It's made naturally in our body, and some things, especially like with age or statin, cholesterol medications and different things, that CoQ10 can decline. And it's hard to get in foods to get enough absorbed. So CoQ10 is a good supplement to take. And most of the time I'll say like 100 milligrams a day. Now, not everyone needs it. I do some of these vitamin tests on people, and it will tell you if you have a need for CoQ10. But it is it's very safe to take. It's a little pricey. I think it's a little hard to make. And so most of them, it is something that, but it's good for heart muscle, all of our muscles, but especially like heart and diabetes and things like that. And again, if you're on a cholesterol medicine. So,
and I think it's important for people to know that, and we have done this, that we might get on a supplement, regime for a couple months to get the body back into balance so that the body can generate, some of it. There are other cases where my genetics doesn't have the ability to make it. So it's not always perfect, but you might start out on certain,
right.
I know I've taken, 8 supplements, and today I take just a couple.
And that's exactly it, Eric. It's to restore yourself. And so, like CoQ10, if you're not deficient, if you take it, it's not going to help your energy. But if you try it and you think, wow, I do think this is boosting my energy, because think again, back to the cells and our mitochondria are those little factories in there that make the ATP. And so CoQ10 is really important in there. CoQ10 and magnesium and some of these other vitamins we're going to discuss to help manufacture, and they're cofactors that help our body make more ATP, which is energy. So it's safe to try, and some of these that we're mentioning, or all of these that we're mentioning, are things that they're not going to build up toxicity. So it's just things that you can try to maybe add for a while. But I do think, again, back to the test, don't guess, it's so much better to test and get an idea of your baseline, and then also you can kind of look and see what are you vulnerable, that you might be vulnerable to being low in, so long term what support you need.
Yeah.
And we can do all that at OPT2LIV.com. You can check that out, Amy. We offer the testing there. And then I have a question, you guys. Andy Flanagan asked, where can we find the supplement list or the supplement company that you used?
We'll put a link out there, Doug. Why don't we do that? And I'll put it in these notes at the end, so there's a link for people to go to. And if you haven't already, on OPT2LIV.com, go down and add in your email. Andy, I've got your email. I'll just add you into our list. And then we'll send out a blast, Doug, later today, an email blast, kind of just updating everybody on what we talked about here today, and then what Amy recommends is some of the good supplements and where to go get them.
And I do want to make a point. So these are kind of, they're like an online supplement store, so they carry numerous brands. But the reason I went to that over Amazon is that, because a lot of these you can find on Amazon, but we don't know how they're being stored. Are they getting really hot and then
really cold,
really
and
cold,
hot and cold,
and are they out of date? So that's the big thing that I'm not knocking Amazon, because I have bought.
No, you have used Amazon a lot, and I've got to
Amazon.
say, I don't know that I always like that.
But and sometimes I buy supplements on Amazon. Like some things are very shelf stable, like that calm magnesium is not hard to get, but some things are you have to be very cautious about. And they'll degrade, and if they're not stored properly, like probiotics. And so that's why I'm just cautious, and I do use something like an online supplement store that I know the gentleman that helps run this, and he's very, very picky and cautious.
And they're still competitive on pricing, but to your point, Amy, it might be a few dollars more in what you're saying. In that case, it's probably worth it for your health.
Almost equal, yeah. He's pretty good about that. Anyway, so hopefully that helps.
Hi, Andy.
Questions.
Glad she's on.
I am too. Hi. B vitamins are another thing that are very common that we get deficient in. And again, we can be set up for it. Like when we run our genetics, I think we both have a tendency to be we don't absorb some of the proteins or enzymes that we use to absorb these B vitamins. We can be a little low in. B vitamins are water soluble, so it's hard to get toxic in them. But a good B complex is really important. The other thing is, especially like if you have low stomach acid, that can affect your absorption of B vitamins. So with age, a lot of people have lower stomach acid, or they're on an antacid chronically, and so you're going to be more at risk for a B vitamin deficiency. So a good B complex is important, and that helps energy, especially B12. If you're vegetarian, you really do need to be on some form of a B12. Even if your blood level shows you're fine, remember that's just showing are you like majorly deficient. But optimal because we mainly get those B12 through animal products, like meat and cheese and things like that.
Absolutely.
Iron was something that you guys talked about.
We chatted a little bit about that earlier this week, Doug. Remember the iron in the...
But you do have to be careful because iron is one of those that you can get too much. Iron can get toxic and deposit in your liver. So I just think it's good to maybe get your iron checked because especially women, we're more prone, and pregnant women are more prone to iron deficiency. But men less likely to be deficient.
You wonder how much we get from our iron skillets. We have yet to give up our iron skillets. Absolutely love cooking in those.
So happy,
We've got
I love them.
probably 30 years of, whatever that protective surface is. And I've educated the kids not to use soap in it, right? Because it completely destroys them.
Yeah, they're awesome. But iron is just...
That's one of the questions is can you overdose on any supplements to the point where it's bad for you?
You can.
Yeah.
You sure can.
If it's not water soluble, it could be an
Especially
issue.
the fat soluble,
Yeah.
A, D, E, and K are all fat soluble, so they can accumulate and get stored in our fat and accumulate and get toxic easier. So you don't, like A, D, E, and K, you need to be cautious. Now multivitamins are in very low doses that aren't going to accumulate, but iron's another one you could take too much of and it could get stored in too much or hurt your liver. So
well, this is where, if you're working with people, you are looking at this objectively. You're measuring the exact amounts and it can help them with the need.
And B vitamins, I've had people taking like crazy high doses of Bs, and yes, they can be toxic to nerves if you overdo it.
All right, just so you know, you got 2
careful.
minutes, so whatever those next 2 minutes of pearls are, and then Doug, you can run our generator.
Okay.
What other one do you guys want to talk about? Melatonin is one on here. We talk about it for sleep, but what they've shown is that it does, if you can restore your melatonin levels and have better quality sleep.
This is the one that makes you go to sleep. This is the one that gets turned on when you're ready to sleep.
So like as it gets
darker.
In our pineal gland. So sometimes some melatonin supplements are helpful. If you're not having real restorative sleep, it'll help your energy the next day.
I like to try to do it on my own. I know I took it once or twice. It does work.
Oh, another really good one I just want to mention, and then we'll wrap it up here. Tyrosine is another amino acid that helps your dopamine, and tyrosine is with like magnesium, a good multivitamin. Tyrosine helps boost our dopamine. It helps mental alertness and clarity and focus. So sometimes if people are feeling scattered or fatigued during the day or just trouble focusing, tyrosine is a really good thing, especially if you're prone to low dopamine or low mood or cravings and issues like that. So
yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, did you find somebody?
I always get something out of this myself, even though we study it and get the material beforehand. So thank you, Dr. Amy, for putting that together.
That's good stuff.
We ran 2 names today because yesterday Eric and I were out at the sailing club working out. We couldn't see your comments until we got back in, but we ran 2. So we have 2 winners. Today's winners are Lynn Hayes Williams and Andy Flanagan.
Oh.
All right.
So we got 2 winners today, and we'll get you that coupon. We'll send you a message through Facebook, and then we will get you that coupon for the discount on the supplements, which I think are working great.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That is
all
great.
Right. Anything else? We are going to sign off, I guess, for the weekend because we're off on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we'll see everybody again on Monday. Look forward to seeing you soon. The Breathe Pillar on Monday. Have a good day, guys.
Off the live mornings.
Bye.